Do you want to propagate and grow a ton of beautiful succulents right in your own home? Well, in today's video, I'm going to show you several years worth of videos that I've made on propagation, bring them all together in one easy to follow and complete guide on succulent propagation. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around for this one. One of the greatest ways I found to propagate succulents is via leaf propagation. And by using these 72 cell seed starting trays, this is a great way to grow many succulents at one time as well. The soil mixture is key. When propagating this way, I use 1 part regular soil and 1 part peat moss. All you have to do is break off the leaves, place them into each cell, and then for watering, I recommend misting these once a day for the first couple of months during the propagation. In a matter of no time, you're going to start to see these succulents develop roots, and then the rosettes will begin to form after that point. Make sure that these are placed in a well-lit area or under a grow light if you have one. They don't need a ton of light during this stage, but it's definitely going to be beneficial as time goes on. Here we have some footage of the early stages for root development. You can see these roots sticking out and starting to grow into the soil. This is a really cool process, and it's always so much fun to watch them grow this way. After several months, these rosettes will begin to get larger and larger. At this point, I would recommend to increase the amount of light these succulents get, as much light as possible as long as you're not burning the leaves, and stop misting them every day, but instead give them a good watering once a week. Now at this point, we've got a ton of really cute little succulents ready to grow up to their full potential. The next step in this process is going to be transplanting. This is the point at which we're going to change the soil type. When transplanting, transplant this into 1 part regular soil, 1 part peat moss, and 1 part coarse sand or perlite. A little bit of extra drainage really helps out as these succulents grow to be more mature. Whether or not you're using a seed starting tray, you can just pull them out of the soil, keep that clump of soil attached to the roots, and transplant into the new pot. We're also going to reduce our watering again to not once a week, but once every 2 to 3 weeks after this point. Here we have a couple of trays completely planted with our propagated succulents. Don't they look so cute? I'll also mention another method you can use for propagating succulents is by cutting. You can basically cut off the top rosette of your succulent, place right into the same soil mixture that we just used for the transplants, and voila, you've got another succulent growing for you. Even my 2-year-old son could do it this way. When taking cuttings from succulents, that original stem will now produce more and more rosettes that you can also propagate. So let me give you a final rundown. When propagating with leaves, you want to use 1 part regular soil and 1 part peat moss, combined with a misting once a day. After a month or 2, you want to reduce the watering down to about once a week. And then even later, in a couple of months, transplant into a 1 part regular soil, 1 part peat moss, and 1 part perlite or coarse sand soil mixture. And we're going to reduce the watering frequency yet again to about once every 2 to 3 weeks, depending on where you live. And if you're propagating via cutting, just transplant that cutting into the 1 part soil, 1 part peat moss, and 1 part perlite or coarse sand soil mixture, and give it a once every 2 to 3 week watering right off the bat. Thank you guys all so much for watching this crash course on propagating succulents. I hope your gardens are doing fantastic. Be sure to click this box right up here to move on to the next video. And as always, happy gardening.